to High School OT Live. Here's your host, Nick Stevens.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to the High School OT Postgame Show here for the 1A Football State Championship game. Mount Airy defeating Tarboro tonight 20-7. They are the 1A state champions. And TJ, it was pretty dominant from the beginning.
Yeah, I'm at a loss for words because we haven't seen Tarboro be shut out. Yep, virtually shut out. And this was really the first one-sided, I think, championship game out of all, well, I guess the only three that we've seen thus far. But hats off to Mount Airy because they came out from the kickoff with a big kickoff return and just rolled from there. So a really good game by them.
Yeah, I mean, it was only a 13-point game, but it felt like a lot more. It really felt like Mount Airy in control the whole way. Let's go to our highlights from this one, and we will pick things up in the first quarter. Mount Airy on the board first. Tyler Mason, he had himself a night tonight. He starts scoring on a 15-yard run for a touchdown that makes it 7-0. Granite Bears, 4, first quarter. Tarboro punting the ball away. It's deflected by Mount Airy. It is picked up, and it's going to be returned inside the 20-yard line. And TJ, this gives them good field position and puts Tarboro's defense at time. That's what ends up with another Tyler Mason touchdown run. This one punched in from 1 yard out. That makes it 14-0 Mount Airy, and that 14-0 score sticks through halftime. Third quarter and more special teams problems for Tarboro. This punt is blocked by Mount Airy, and that leads to more great field position for the Granite Bears. And Tyler Mason takes advantage. He breaks a big run, and this one gets down to the 1 yard line. And then right after that, you can guess what happens. Tyler Mason, he's going to score again, another 1 yard touchdown run. That makes it 20-0 Mount Airy. All three touchdowns from Tyler Mason. But Tarboro doesn't go away. Mount Airy on offense, and this ball is picked off by Omarion Lewis. He takes this one back 24 yards, and that gives the Vikings some life here. Good field position inside the 20-yard line, and they take advantage here. Mason Satterfield gets in from 9 yards out to get the Vikings on the board. It's 20-7 Mount Airy late third quarter. Tarboro ball again in the fourth quarter, trying to get even closer, but the Granite Bears force a turnover, and that will seal it. Mount Airy, 20-7 winners over Tarboro tonight. They are headed back west with the 1A state title after that win.
And right here you see bottom line special teams, I think. Well, obviously the defense showed up and they slowed down, put a stop to the Tarboro T, which we don't see often, but special teams in this game clearly is what decided the outcome for Mount Airy. I mean, you have a blocked field goal, you have a blocked punt, and then both of those set up great field position. And I think they score on both of those after both of those turnovers. So anytime, you have a even battle as far as big plays in the turnover battle, special teams becomes pivotal. And right here, you see that changed the game.
We'll come back to the special teams point in just a minute. I do want to go ahead and bring in our crew who is at the game tonight. We've got Joel Bryant, Kyle Morton. I like the outfit, Kyle. And J. Mike Blake joining us from the press box at Carter Finley Stadium. Guys, what was your takeaway from this one? Were you surprised to see Tarboro, I hate to use the word dominated, but that's what it felt like watching it.
Yeah, I think we all kind of assumed Tarboro would be the favorite. I think what stood out to me coming into this game was the size difference that Tarboro had. Mount Airy legitimately is not very big on the lines, but they're very fundamentally sound. They play with great leverage, and I think what the one guy said, Cameron, said in the press conference is they play together. They communicate well on the offensive line. I think you can see that as well. And they have special guys running the ball like Tyler Mason and Caleb Reed. J. Mike was actually here the whole game, so we're going to defer to him a little bit.
Yeah. So the one thing you need to know about Mount Airy is last year they went 13-1. They lost to Mitchell, and Mitchell is the team that finished runner-up to Tarboro last year. They only allowed 46 points all season last year, averaged 3.3 a game. This year they only gave up 7.8 a game. That defense has been fundamentally sound. They've been doing this for 2 years now at the top of their game, and they kind of feel like last year was the one that got away. They got it back tonight. Their only loss this year was the East Surrey, a 2A team that we used to see here in the 1A championships, and they only lost that game 14-12. So when you take an East Surrey offense and only limited to 14 points, it was, even though Tarborough's offense can create a lot of, it's hard to prepare for that in a week sometimes. They were up to the task. Also, the first drive was really, really big. It was a long kickoff return by Tyler Mason, and then bang, 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 5 plays. They're in the end zone with Tyler Mason with 2 15-yard runs, and kind of put Tarboro on his back foot a little bit, and they never really recovered in this one.
Yeah, Mason had all 3 touchdowns tonight. He eclipsed 50 on the season, 52 he finished with.
3 total touchdowns. So
Total
49
touchdowns,
rushing, and then he has 3 kick and punt returns.
I think we added a name to Joel's recruiting list to watch tonight also, and that's Mount Airy defensive tackle, Third Floyd. He's a freshman, already over 300 pounds, and Coach said in the press conference he does not move like a 300-pounder. He was a major matchup problem for Tarborough's offensive line, caused all sorts of havoc, and allowed those linebackers to get down to the first level to make those tackles for loss. That really threw Tarborough's offense off.
Yeah, just about every Mount Airy linebacker had somewhere between 8 to 15 tackles tonight because they could just shoot in free. And Joel over here has binoculars, so he can see what's happening on the line, even though we're really, really high up. And he was like, "This guy is taking out the center every time."
So yeah, when he lines up over the center, he's taking out the center every time. If they put him at the 1 second between the center and the guard, he's taking 2 blockers every time. Mm-hmm. For a freshman to be doing that on the state championship stage it's pretty cool. But they also have another freshman defensive lineman who is I want to get his name here because he's also very good. What was it Talon Smith? Yeah, he was also pretty good defensive end.
Well, you guys mentioned a lot about the defense, and that's kind of what we were getting at, I think, right before we passed it to you all. And I guess my question is, when you face a Tarboro T or any triple option style, and as you said, in a week's time, it's hard to prepare for that. I'm curious to I guess, tell our viewers, since you all were there, how the communication was for that defense, because you said they're 2 years into it. They felt like last year got away. You see them come out and play inspired. You see them rally to the ball. You see them fly around. But the biggest thing from the TV copy is you see the coaches in their face. You see the guys talking to each other. Were you guys able to hear or be a part of any of that environment tonight?
Well, we were all in the press box, so not really. But you could tell the adjustments were being made. They were being made quickly, and they were being made well. Right after Tarborough's touchdown drive is when they really made the shift with Floyd from off center to guard, and that immediately shut Tarboro back down. So they were making moves and adjustments that worked.
It's interesting you bring up communication, TJ, because that was something that was mentioned at the press conference when they're on defense, how much we communicate. And middle linebacker, Ian Gallimore is the quarterback on offense. He's the quarterback of the defense too, because he's middle linebacker. And it just seemed like when, with the exception of a few counters, that there were more tacklers in the area than there were blockers. And that's always a good thing for the defense. And that's because of the pre-snap adjustments with your quarterback of the defense, who's also the quarterback of your offense, making that. And they talked about the communication that they have as a unit now 2 years. And most of this team's coming back next year. And then, right, Joel, you kind of looked at the roster a little bit.
Yeah, you said they only have 8 seniors. Coach Craddock said in the press conference that his linemen could not get to the second level. So when they run this T offense, they have a lot of guys pulling a lot, and they weren't able to really get to that second level because the blocks are getting deconstructed by the defensive line so quickly. It's a lot of misdirection with the T, and when you have the misdirection and you can't get guys off the blocks, off the initial pressure there, it's going to cause problems.
All right, guys. Well, you guys have one more game left. The 3A state championship coming up at 7 o'clock there at Carter Finley Stadium. We will talk to you guys after that game on the next High School HSOT Postgame Show.
Sounds good.
All right, TJ, they talked about Coach Craddock and what he said about how that game went down. And in the press conference, in his very first opening remarks, he basically said we had no answer for exactly what we were just talking about with Mount Airy. We want to go and hear from Coach Craddock of Tarboro right now from his press conference.
Yeah, I mean, it's a disappointing end to a great season. Mount Airy was a great team. I thought, looking at film, that they had the edge at certain places. We knew that we had to play a great game, and we just didn't do that. That's not a slight to Mount Airy. They're the better team. They won it. They earned it. I'm happy for their program. But, the opening drive, they executed to perfection. We were down quickly. We couldn't get our footing on offense. They were just rock solid. They were winning the line of scrimmage. And then give up a block punt, give them a short field, give them an easy score. I thought when we had them pinned at the 2-yard line early, we let them get out of the hole. If we could have made that play. Now they're punting. Now the field's shorter. Thought that maybe we could have went down and scored. But you got to make those plays in these big-time games. So we didn't make enough of them. So I thought we played a pretty good second half. Our guys didn't quit. They fought to the end. I was very proud of their effort. But at the end of the day, I just tell we didn't play the game we needed to play to beat a great team like Mount Airy. And that's pretty much how it is. They made the plays when they had to. So
that kind of sums that game up. I think there were a lot of short field opportunities for Mount Airy that came from the fact that Tarboro had some miscues, particularly on special teams.
Right.
Those don't happen. We might be talking about a different game.
I think those don't happen. Tarboro probably walks away with this one. Just for the sheer fact he talked about maybe 3 different instances where they can get points.
Yeah. And
you lose the game by 13 points there. So there's only 2 scores. You give yourself a chance. But I think what was really interesting that Coach talked about is being outmanned in certain areas. I think that, one, this is a little foreshadow for next year. I think with both of these teams being really young, you probably will see them again.
This might be like the old Tarboro East Surrey games in the state championships.
Very well. Very, very, very well so. But I think the other piece of it is you hear me say it on the Red Zone and everything like that, or High School T-Lap. I'm sorry, I watch Sunday Night Football, everyone. But
NFL Red Zone.
Yeah.
And Sunday Night Football.
It's all the same. You just watch games, right? But I think the biggest thing is when you're dealing with those teams, you hear me talk about winning the line of scrimmage. And when you win the line of scrimmage, it puts you, especially against the run team, puts you in a favorable situation. But then also he felt like there were, multiple tacklers or they were outnumbered. And you always hear me mention it's a numbers game. It's very simple. If you stay disciplined, you read your keys, you fly to the ball. It's harder to break 3 tackles than it is one guy. It's harder, to cover somebody else's mistake when you're all in place. And so I think those few things is stuff that Tarboro, usually the offense kind of builds or creates that chaos for the defense. But as you said, the communication, the coaches being ready, and then obviously the guys coming out firing, getting them on their heels. That offense isn't built to play from behind. So I think they had a great game plan, and Coach, he obviously had a front row seat of watching it. So going into next year, I know it's hard to look ahead, but I think this game will be a lot closer next year, especially after how they
TJ
felt.
already predicting a Mount Airy Tarboro rematch.
Either that or
state championship.
I know there's a few
1
teams
year from
watching.
today.
I feel like there's a lot of teams watching this like, yeah, he's going to be sadly mistaken. But I mean, if we're going off the last 8 years,
let him know.
No, don't hit me up on Instagram, please.
All right. We also heard from Mount Airy coach J.K. Adkins in his post-game press conference tonight. We'll hear from him real quick too.
Well, first of all, I'm so thankful, so blessed to be surrounded by these guys and those guys in the locker room. Love these guys, hearts of champions, and that showed tonight. Proud of our team. I'm very prideful for our community and our school. This is an awesome experience, and I just feel blessed.
And it's an experience that Mount Airy has not had a lot. This is the first time they've won a state title since 2008.
Okay.
So it's been a while since they've won a state championship. But as TJ alluded to, they might be back next year. They got some good young talent.
They do. And to Coach's point, these guys played lights out. I mean, you come into a game, it's really a 3-score, almost a shutout, really the whole game. You come in locked in, as the Tarboro's head coach has alluded to as well. They started fast. They were locked in from the kickoff. And that's just the preparation, these kids understanding what the opportunity they have in front of them, and then ultimately understanding that they're going to have to do it together. There's no team, as you see with Tarboro, like every Tarboro team that's won it, they've had multiple guys making plays. And I think this for Tarboro, they made them they made the run for Tarboro one-dimensional. You knew 11 was going to get the ball a good bit. You knew that he was the most dynamic player that they had, I think, outside of the quarterback position. And the game plan that Mount Airy had was just spot on all the way around. I
agree. And Tyler Mason, he'll be back.
It helps when you're number 5.
And TJ's biased. That's his number, not 21.
I mean, big time players make big time plays. You look good, you play good. You know how it goes.
How'd you ever have good games then?
I'm fine.
All right. We'll have more coverage of Mount Airy's 20-7 win over Tarboro in the 1A state championship on High School OT. You can go there right now to get additional coverage and much more coming your way tonight here on highschoolot.com and the High School OT app. We've also got one more state championship game left to go. The 3A state championship game kicks off at 7 o'clock at Carter Finley Stadium. Northern Nash taking on East Lincoln. We'll have full coverage of that game as well on High School OT. And TJ and I will be back one more time. That's right. We'll be back one more time. I almost said TJ will be back, and I'll just let you do this on your own. How about that?
This will be a quick one.
We'll be back again after the post-game press conferences from the 3A state championships right here on High School OT. Congratulations to Mount Airy on their first state title since 2008, 20-7 winners over Tarboro.